Drinking alcohol, panic attacks, and anxiety. What do they all have in common? Well, it turns out a lot. Now, I'm 5 years sober, and I kind of know the difference now between what it's like to not drink and experience anxiety. I didn't know that before. I didn't know when I was drinking, certainly. I didn't really understand the psychological aspect of my anxiety and panic attacks until some time after I stopped drinking alcohol. So, what is it like for you guys? Put your comments below and let me know, and let this group know what you guys are experiencing with your drinking, your anxiety. Do you experience panic attacks? Are you having issues with all these things? They all go hand in hand. I haven't had panic attacks since I quit drinking. I didn't have them pretty much the last few years that I drank. I had pretty high anxiety nonetheless. When my panic attacks were at their highest, it was in my 20s and early 30s. Mid 20s to early 30s, I was drinking a lot, first off. I was also taking a medication for anxiety that was kind of an as needed basis. That really didn't solve my underlying issue, which was my drinking. It's hard to see like what drinking is doing to us while we're doing it. Even when we're not under the influence of alcohol, it's still hard for us to kind of see what exactly the alcohol is doing to us and our brain chemistry, our feelings of anxiety, and our feelings of impending doom. It takes a little bit of time to get away from alcohol to kind of recognize that you can handle life better without alcohol. Things are simpler if you don't turn to alcohol in the first place. You hear it all the time when you're younger, and people talk about how you're just making it worse by drinking alcohol. If you're turning to alcohol to cope with something, with life in general, yeah, it feels good in the moment. It's helpful to unwind, relax, and just kind of forget about what's going on in your life. The problem is that the alcohol, once you start consuming it, is leaving your system. It's trying to leave your system. The more you drink, the longer it takes for the alcohol to kind of leave your system. Until it's like all out, your brain chemistry is different than it would be if you were not drinking. If you were processing life as a sober person, you don't have that to contend with. You don't have to deal with the hangover, the depression, the anxiety, and all the fallout from drinking. Yes, it feels good in the moment, but the hours after you're done drinking and into the next day, even if you're a heavy drinker like I was, you have major issues with things like that. So, how can we get to a point where we don't need alcohol to cope with our anxiety? At what point do we decide that we need to try something different? For me, it was 42 years old. Up until that point, I really only gave it a week at a time, and that's just because I was massively hungover. After a week of swearing it off, I'd go right back to it. Again, the panic, the anxiety would kind of set back in. If you're walking around with a hangover all the time, you're irritable, that's not good for your psyche, because what you say and what you do while you're even hungover can lead to more bad feelings. Depending on how you're treating other people, you're certainly not treating yourself well if you're drinking like that. What's your experience with quitting alcohol? Are you newly sober? Are you looking to get sober? Have you been sober in the past? Want to do it again? Let us know down in the comments below where you are with your sobriety. It's just easier to live life alcohol free. It doesn't mean that our problems go away. It's just that we're not expounding the anxiety and the panic by drinking more. And I read something a long time ago. It was on a church sign, and it said, drinking alcohol doesn't wash away our problems, it irrigates them. And I never forgot that saying. You know, a lot of those sayings on there, you read them when you drive by it and you see it. Sometimes you see it every day. I only drove by this one time, and that was in my 20s. And it made a profound impact on my mindset about what I was doing to myself with my drinking. I knew it was hurting me. I knew it was causing me more anxiety. And I knew that it was leading to the panic attacks that I suffered with from roughly ages 24 to 34. It kind of got better as I got a little bit older. I got married when I was 34. I met my wife when I was 33. She's a nurse. She was able to kind of help me talk me down out of these panic attacks. I was still waking up in the middle of the night sometimes with panic attacks at that age, 33, 34. It can be scary. It's so real. It feels so realistic, like you're going to die. It feels like you're going to have a heart attack and your heart's just going to stop. And that's just what it feels like to have high anxiety like that all the time. And of course I was drinking in that period of time. In my 30s I drank less than I did in my 20s, but it was stretched out more. I was working more, so I couldn't drink as much and function well. So I would drink like less but drink every day instead of maybe a lot every couple days. I became more of a regular drinker in my 30s. That didn't help my panic. I refused to go on antidepressants. I was afraid it was going to interact with my drinking. I was afraid that it was going to cause me like liver or kidney problems. I tried it maybe a couple times in a couple days, and I said no, I don't want to do that. I thought I had to sacrifice my drinking in order to take these antidepressants. So I said no, thank you. Eventually, I got on it when I was like 40 years old. I decided, I'm gonna try the antidepressants, and that was only because my psychologist basically said that the worst thing that's going to happen with drinking while taking the antidepressants is it just offsets the benefits of the medication. It's not going to really cause like harm to your organs. And that made me feel like take a little bit of solace in the fact that, hey, if it doesn't work, hey, at least I can keep drinking. The Zoloft worked. It took the edge off. I was still able to keep drinking, but it was like 6 months into it, I started noticing my irritability setting back in, my anxiety. He said, I told you. He was a little bit kinder than that. He said, it could be the drinking. Yeah, it could be. You can quit the drinking or you could up the dosage. It's up to you. Okay, I'll up the dosage. I did that a few times over like a 2 year period, and I increased it like two or three times. And then I got to a point at the beginning of the pandemic where I was just like, man, this is getting worse. Like, it's not getting better. I don't want to keep increasing my dosage of this stuff. So I was at a crossroads with my anger and irritability issues and my panic and my anxiety and everything like that, to the point where it was like it caused a problem with my family, with me and my family. Just I had a blow up one night, drinking all day, and just later that night, one of my daughters did something I didn't like, and I just blew up. I snapped. I just kind of yelled at her and yelled at my wife, and just got upset and angry. I remember most of it, but some of it, it just was kind of a blur. But the next morning, I got up, I apologized. I said, I'm going to cut back on drinking. I don't want to do it anymore. It's causing me too much problems. I said I'm going to have to cut down on the alcohol because at this point I was drinking every day, earlier and earlier. I wasn't working, I was laid off. It was 6 weeks into the pandemic, and every week I said I'm not going to drink today, and I would give it a day off, and then I'd go right back to it, and I'd keep drinking more. I would drink like hard liquor at the end of my binge drinking of beer all day, and it was just I would wake up just feeling awful on that seventh day, and I would just have to take a day off. But it was that blow up that I decided I got to be done. And I might not be able to quit cold turkey. I might have to weed myself off of alcohol at this point, but I'm going to be done. I gave it some time. I got a therapy session. I found a book, This Naked Mind. I got on the group. I checked in every day, all day. And I talked to my wife, and I was able to just not go back to drinking. By the grace of God, I was able to do that. I begged God to take me out of that pain a couple weeks before I ultimately quit. God came through. He said, you don't need to be anxious like this anymore, Josh. You don't need to do that. You don't need to beat yourself up anymore. You don't need to punish yourself with the alcohol use. You don't have to just give yourself a lack of grace. You can have a better life, and here's the tools, and here's what you got to do. And it took all those years building up to that moment for me to realize that I needed community. I needed a group of people. I needed to trust people. I needed to put my ego down. I needed to just admit that my drinking was a problem and go from there. What are your experiences with drinking, with panic attack, with anxiety? Please put them down in the comments below. If you found any value in this, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd be forever grateful to you. I'm building a group of like-minded people here. I have a group also on Facebook. It's a private group. I'll pin the link in the comments below. I'll also pin a link to my sobriety videos. You can take solace in the fact that you're here and doing something about this. It's a problem. It's an epidemic. We all have our baggage, our poisons that we turn to. We all have our vices. Mine happen to be alcohol. If yours is alcohol as well, please join this group. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. I'm so glad you're here.